It's titled Practical AI Workshop. Now, the first thing is first. Like, I want to set the expectation. This is a overview first, with hands-on towards the end, right? I want to get exposure to. Everyone's familiar with ChatGPT, right? AI text in, text out. Great. But there are other ways people are using what this thing is called generative AI. And I'll get into what is the generative portion of Gen AI, and how other people in the industry, both in the tech sector, finance sector, and even the public sector, how they're using it, and how we in our personal lives can use AI to kind of help improve our productivity or improve our decision making or whatever that may be. And then I'll get into kind of demos to kind of really help you guys put pen to paper, like what is AI? Okay, yeah, ChatGPT, yeah, you can talk to them, but there are other use cases that are not yet explored, and there's very creative things that we'll see here. And then, of course, we'll work on the Muhsineen website. One of my objectives is to make sure we take what Hamza has provided as a baseline and build the Muhsineen website along with the directory services of each of our own individual directories, and add that in, followed by a Q&A. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. All right, so let's get into Gen AI. Before I get into this, I see a couple of folks are like AI, not AI, technical, like computer science majors. Who in here is non-technical, like not as familiar with AI or other IT? Okay, I see one. Okay, okay. So that really helps me because I can cater this towards a more technical audience. So I take it everyone's familiar with this concept, right? AI, there's machine learning, and there's generative AI. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but this is a graph that's there to really show you that generative AI is a subset of this huge thing called artificial intelligence. There's really 2 to 3 key transformative technologies that have happened in the last couple of years. One called Transformer, where it's literally it's recursively essentially calling itself to generate the next token. That's how ChatGPT does it, right? It's using it's in a feedback loop to generate the next possible high likelihood of token. For example, if you say once upon, right, it's going to say A is the next possibility of word, then a time, right? This is kind of the recursive way it does this. There's also different type of models. I mean, one is called an autoregressive, right? It's generating, right, as it traverses through the AI model, it generates the next token, then the next token, all the way. Now, in ChatGPT case, it's generating this thing as a word, entire word, as a token, and to create a full form sentence, and then giving that output. All based on what it's been fed, right? It's been fed human text, so it's giving an output that looks very human. And the three transformative technologies have really been transformers, autoregressive models, and diffusions. This is something you guys may have seen in Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, Dolly, right? These are a couple text-to-image type models that use a lot of those diffusion techniques. Now, I'm not going to get into the detailed implementation for transformers, diffusions, and autoregressive models. It gets too data sciencey and too technical for this group. But what I will get into is more about, there's more to just ChatGPT. So, who in here is familiar with ChatGPT's GPT-4o model? Okay. Anyone know what the O stand for in 4o? Those who raise their hand, you're on the spot.
Exclusive? Is it like, because I see, like, I don't pay for it, but then once you, certain amount of questions you ask them, it goes to, like, would you like to upgrade to 4.0, so I feel like it's a bigger
That's right. So it is a bigger model. So for O stands for Omni, right? Omni meaning Omni model. It's what OpenAI is calling multimodal model, meaning you can feed it text, you can feed it image, you can feed it speech, you can feed it videos, not videos, sorry, images. Um, I don't think they have videos just yet. Files, PDFs, Excel. That's right. So it can do that and give you an output. Now, there's a lot of different things you can use, right? There's text-to-text type generative models. That's what ChatGPT is, right? There's text-to-image, like that's your diffusion models like DALL-E, Stable Diffusion. But there's also text-to-music, right? Text-to-speech, speech-to-speech, speech-to-text. So speech-to-speech is used for a lot of things like translation. When you're doing one language to another language translation, there's a lot of models like translation, other type of analysis, sentiment analysis. So these are kind of the different types of models that are available. This is a screenshot from Hugging Face, and I'll get into more detail about what is Hugging Face, why it's so critical. But Hugging Face at its crux is really essentially, if you guys are familiar with GitHub, which is just a code versioning, GitHub is like, Hugging Face is like GitHub, but for AI. Here's a great list of different type of models, right? We've all seen text-to-text, but I'm going to skip those in text-to-image, but image-to-text, right? You have models that if you want to give an image and say, hey, describe this image to me, what's happening in the scene. I've seen some tremendous cases come out of this. There's a real use case of image-to-text happening in real time called Real Eyes. It's for people who are visually impaired. Historically, there was an app for it where people would dial someone who has, better vision, and through their phone camera, they would show, hey, what am I looking at? Okay, I'm looking at this can of Coke or whatever. What's the nutrition facts on it, right? So they've outsourced it because it would be a real human being that was accepting the call. You were at the mercy of availability at that point. Now it's being offloaded to models like this, to where people are doing image to text to help provide guidance to people who are visually impaired. There's image to 3D, image to video, text to video, couple ones that are here that are decent runway. We'll take a look at Sora, which is OpenAI's text to video. Text to code, there's quite a lot of these here. Text to science, Galactica and Minerva are pretty Text to speech, 11 Labs, we'll take a look at here in a moment. Speech to text, this is Whisper model, is pretty much the industry standard. Speech to speech for a lot of translation. Type tasks. So I'll pause and see if there's any questions, comments so far. What do you guys are thinking? Is this the direction you guys want me to take, or you guys familiar with everything so far? Yes? Oh, good. All right. Okay. So a couple of uses that I've personally seen where Gen AI is used in the industry. MRI analysis, for example, I've seen MRI analysis being done where, let's say you get a lung screening done, right? Lung scan, MRI. What happens is that scan needs to be sent off to a radiologist who needs to now annotate, okay, there's something here that needs to be, is it scar tissue, is it cancerous, is it nodules, whatever that case may be, right? The radiologist would then flag it, send you the labs, usually takes about a month. What I've seen happen now, at my previous work, we were doing this using segmentation models to have AI essentially segment nodes of different chest x-ray and conduct an MRI analysis. What that would do is essentially make the radiologist's job easier, to where radiologists would essentially sign off on it, or a radiologist tech would then review it, and there would be a much quicker turnaround. And screening out, whether something's cancerous, whether something is, scar tissue. Bug management. This is something internally at Meta. Who's the founder of Instagram? I'm drawing a blank on his name, but the founder of Instagram recently gave a very good hard figure that uh, internally we use llama models a lot for coding, bug management, or just they're pretty big on using their llama models. And of course, they don't want you using ChatGPT or others for data exploit reasons. But one of the biggest metric that he shared with us last week was he gave an example of a mid-level engineer, software engineer, who was able to like fix and code refactor something that takes a long time. Code refactor and fix 30 to 35 bugs, all within one work week. Now that's something that a senior software engineer would have taken a month or 2 months, and all within one work week. So I mean, huge efficiency gains there, right? All because of AI and what you can do with AI as a pair programmer. You guys are all familiar with PDF analysis. We talked about that, image analysis. I'll talk a little bit about diffusion and autoaggressive if we have time. Customer service. We'll take a look at bland AI and its cases. Any thoughts so far? All right. So I want to remind everyone that your competition isn't just other people, right? It's other people empowered by AI. And really the amount of work that I've seen personally, something that would have taken me weeks to do, it's something I can do in hours. And that's essentially the type of competitive edge using AI as a tool gives you. And the sooner you learn to use it and embrace it and really use it to optimize your workflows, your life, the better you'll get at it. All right, now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. So I have a couple demos. So I'll start with one, and I want you guys' feedback. So I have a couple photos, okay? I want you to pick which photo you guys want me to choose. So either this one, or could be this one. Anyone want to take a guess? Okay, well, let's pick 1, 2, 3. This is it? 1, 2, okay, 1. All right, does anyone know which city this is? Chicago. You're right. Can you pinpoint me where this photo might have been taken from? Somewhere downtown. Is it a real picture?
It's not. You can tell the buildings are like wiggly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a screenshot, right? I'm not going to download the image and see. All right, clipboard. So I'm not going to download the photo because the photo might contain EXIF data and other data. What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to take a screenshot of it, and I do have ChatGPT Plus, which allows you to pick different models. They've recently announced O3, which is their more advanced model, O4 Mini, O4 High, and 4.1. For this purpose, I'm going to pick O3, all right, and I'm going to ask it a couple questions. I'm going to say, let me make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to say, let me see. All right, so I have a prompt saying, is this photo real? If real, tell me exactly where this photo was taken. If fake, tell me a text prompt to generate a similar photo. Seems good? All right, let's hit it. So it's going to take a couple minutes, but I want you guys to pay attention to the reasoning pattern and how it reasons and thinks through this. And it shows its appearance. Okay, first, the authenticity. Let's expand it. User's image appears to be plausible skyline shot, likely Chicago, specifically St. Regis Chicago building. Okay, around the black building in the left could be 11 West Wacker. Took a screenshot. the building on the far left could be Lake Point Tower. It's not sure. It took a sub screenshot and saying, let's take a look at this, let's zoom in and inspect closer. The vertical lines at the bottom might resemble top of BP pedestrian walkway, but they could also look like spikes. Okay, so this photo is real. You're looking at Lakeshore East skyline at dusk, far right in St. Regis, Chicago, formerly Vista Tower. The perspective lines face west, view from BP pedestrian bridge on the side of Millennial Park. Now, let's take a look at the actual image itself and see how close, or where are we?
That's without using like the metadata, right?
It's not. I took a screenshot. Right, I took a screenshot. There's a reason why I specifically didn't download the photo, because I didn't want it to take the metadata. So here it is.
This is not the $20 version, right?
It's the $20 version. It's not the 200. This is the $20 version. So
the 200 have picked up just from the screenshot if it's real or not?
this was the screenshot.
Like the $200 version, would it have analyzed the screenshot differently than the 20?
It would have, because there is they've added additional checkpoints to it to essentially recursively keep asking until it's 100% certain. This one does stop after a certain time. I think this one had thought for about 45 seconds. That one continues to keep going until it is 100% certain what the correct answer is. So taking a look at it, it was taken in around Navy Pier near the Millennium Park. So Lake Point Tower condominium, that's essentially what it called out. Pedestrian bridge near the Millennium Park. So very, very accurate. I have a couple other ones. I took a photo of this. If you guys are familiar with WonderWorks, it's in Tennessee. This one is real, right? Now let's do a fun one, actually. Let's do this one. I'll give you guys one hint. Can anyone tell me where this photo is from? I'll just give you one hint. It's not in America. It's in the Middle East. It's in Saudi. Oh, sorry. No, not Saudi. UAE. It's in UAE. Dubai, but what part of Dubai? Okay, let's ask AI, right? Let's ask AI and have it analyze this. Let's give it the entire thing. And yep, clipboard. All right. All right. Again, I took a screenshot of it. I did not download the image. And I'm asking it, is this photo real or fake? If real, tell me exactly where this photo is taken. If fake, tell me the prompt to generate a similar photo. All right, let's expand the analysis so we can see. Okay, based on the architecture and the T-Rex, I'm leaning towards it being Riverland, Dubai, at Dubai Parks and Resort. So, okay, so now it's actually writing some code to analyze some additional things.
Python.
And it's generating some sub-images to look at and analyze. Okay, so it looked at the sign. So here's the photo. And it's now zooming in on this sign. It says unlimited barbecue. So it's now looking at this. And it says the sign says unlimited barbecue. And there's a swirl icon. And then it's doing a Google search, right? Unlimited barbecue Dubai sign dinosaur park. Right? Searching the web.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How come it's so good at analyzing these pictures, yet when it comes to producing like something that's pretty bad? Like when it comes to like...
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that. All right, so thought for 1 minute. And Riverland, Dubai Mania, Zone French Villa Plaza, Riverland, Dubai Parks and Resorts. It's correct. So that's exactly where this photo was taken. It was taken near the Legoland, which is near the Dubai Parks and Resorts area. Yep, Dubai Parks and Resorts in the Legoland area, right here at the bottom. How accurate are the coordinates? They're approximations, right? So let's take a look. So that's a good question. So let me show you what the real metadata shows in the photo itself, and then I'll show you what the approximation is. So here's the exact, right? And let me paste in the. Oh, I think I'm missing something. There we go. So it's not accurate because if you look at the answer, it's off by. So if you're familiar with floating points, right? It's like giving an answer of 3.1 versus 3.0000099999996, right? It's kind of like that. Is it close enough? Yes, because the exact location was in Legoland, Dubai. The approximation location is saying it's over here. So about, I wish there was a way to measure how far. What is it?
If you right click the 2 points, you have to spun that, and you find your place.
Oh, measure distance. Distance to here. So about 2,600 feet. 2,600 feet. That's actually scary.
And this is
That's scary.
the 03 model, right? That's like really good at these like like the ChatGPT 3, like the 03 model is the one that's like best for these.
Yeah, so there's different models, right? Different models for different things. 03 is great for like advanced reasoning if you want to give it like tasks like this. If you're just looking for a faster response, you don't care about accuracy. What you care about is faster response. There are AI applications that require just quick user response that you don't care about, waiting. There, it's better to have 70%, 75% correct answer, in a shorter amount of time, right? So you would go with smaller models like O4 Mini, O4 Mini High. Okay. Now let's get to the image generation and if they're good or not. So this is so blast from the past. A blast from the past. That's right. But this isn't real, right? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is not turning back into a rock, right? But that's what the prompt is, right? This is the actual text prompt. An Animorphs book cover of Dwayne Johnson morphing into a rock. At the very bottom of the cover is a red rectangle with Scholastic logo. The author is K.A. Applegate. And that's what's shown here, right? So this is, I'm using Sora, which is OpenAI's latest text to image and text to video models. It is available to you, everyone, if you subscribe for the Plus. Wa alaikum assalam.
Wait, which one is that in ChatGPT or is it a whole different AI?
It is. So you can go to sora.chatgpt.com or you can go to sora.com. It'll take you to the same place. So here are a couple videos that or things that I've liked, right? And you can see, actually here, let me show you guys this one. Just saw a rat drink a can of Coke on the subway. This city's a freak show. and the prompt is crazy tweet with noisy photo, crazy impossible situation, weird, unamusingly irrelevant Gen Z humor. And this looks like a legitimate tweet. And I mean, there's one well, of course, there's Walter White. And this one too, the Mortal Kombat loading screen, Steve Urkel versus his alter ego suave, Stephen Urkel. This is their new Sora model. You can use it to generate a lot of images. Fine, I'll go ahead and take a look. So oftentimes there are interesting creative videos or photos. Now, good thing is, because it's OpenAI, they do add in a lot of safety checkpoints, meaning you're not going to see anything explicit, you're not going to see anything provocative. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to see things that we shouldn't be seeing at the masjid, so I'm going to close the tab. But OpenAI has enforced a lot of different safety checkpoints, so people aren't generating. So people aren't generating either explicit items or things they shouldn't be, or graphic content. Same with ChatGPT, right? It filters out if you ask it, hey, if you ask it anything like, hey, like if you ask it a question that may be unethical or illegal, frankly illegal. If I ask it, hey, I want to get away from paying taxes. Last question asked was, how do I evade taxes, right? So yes, short answer to your question, which was, hey, there are people that are able to use ChatGPT and other models to coerce them to reveal things that it's maybe blocked or have guardrails to not answer. I've pasted in our chat, in our WhatsApp channel, a Gandalf Lakera AI. Highly recommend you guys check this out. It has different levels. Essentially, the objective of this game is there's Gandalf is the name of the AI, right? And your job is to essentially ask Gandalf to reveal a secret password. You need to put that password. You need to put that password in here to move to the next level. At each level, they add in additional complexity and make it harder and harder for Gandalf to reveal the password. Highly recommend you guys check this out. This is a great intro to how large language model guardrails are put in place and how they can be broken. So you can ask Gandalf to reveal a password, but a shorter way to really get the answer that you're looking for is don't use ChatGPT at all. Essentially, you'd want to use a different AI model that doesn't have these guardrails. For example, if you look at Hugging Face, right? There's a lot of different models. You can essentially search uncensored models. For example, here's Llama 3.2, mixture of experts, uncensored model. For example, current ChatGPT would have guardrails for anything like tax evasion, let's say, right? There are uncensored models available that you can use that don't have those guardrails. So you can essentially ask it questions like, hey, I want to evade taxes. Here's a tax code of United States, a federal tax code, and here's the tax code of Kentucky. Help me find the best way to maximize my tax returns and tax gains. So, what? Brother, talk to me after the session.
So theoretically, it could work as a CPA or,
Oh, he was just showing.
That's right.
you know.
That's right.
He wasn't trying to use the website.
I'm giving an example on how you can build something like that for yourself. Exactly, because the thing is, there's a lot of ownership and liability that comes with it. So companies wouldn't make a CPA, virtual CPA available that may mislead you if IRS comes for you, right? A lot of liability. So demo 2 is Deep Sight. Now, there's a lot of different models, right? And I'm doing like a real dump here, but I want to expose to you guys a lot of different models, right? That's essentially the whole point. For search, I don't use Google as much. Perplexity AI, phenomenal. Highly recommend you guys, if you have not looked into it or used it before in the past, highly recommend you guys check out Perplexity. It's essentially replaced my Googling. I mean, I still do Google every once in a while, but for anything like when I'm doing comparisons, it has two different modes: search, research mode, where you can do advanced analytics on a topic. But let's say I'm in the market for shoes, right? Between A6.
ياسمين المصعب، محمد علي إدريس، دعاء علي، عبد علي.
I got past level 2. Can you find it?
There we go. There's 8 levels. All right, so here's an example of a query where I'm saying, hey, I'm tied between a couple different shoes, and help me identify a shoe that meets my needs. And I'm saying my needs are, I recently had an ankle twist, so make sure it's something with high heel support. You can select different models, and whether you wanted to search the web, search social media, get opinions. So I'm going to ask it to search social as well, and I'm going to steer it to use Sonnet's model instead, and click search. The beauty of Perplexity is it allows you to look at different models and allows you to use different models. So now it's searching up ASICS Gelciano's support features. It's reading Reddit. Now it's looking up Brooks, and then it's looking up Hoka, and then it's just looking overall, right? Which shoes may be best. And it's saying ASICS Gelciano series is specifically designed with stability and support in mind. And so on, and talks about it. I don't want to read all that. Give me a table. So I'm going to stop it and just say I don't want to read all that. Give me a table comparison. So it's going to read all that, read from the sources and what it's shown above, and build a nice little table, something that I can use to very quickly, highlight which, my decision making. Essentially, okay, Gelciano has more stability. Brooks has neutral support. Hoka mixed reviews. All right, so ASICS Gelciano it is for me, right? These are the type of things you can use Perplexity for.
I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, I'm a new programmer.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a matter of prompt engineering, or are there certain models that will help kind of break down concepts as you ask for?
Yeah, great question. So there are two different.
Can you explain that question?
Yeah. So yeah. So Hamza's asking, hey, does it matter what you're asking? Because I'm asking it questions like, hey, I'm tied between these shoes because I'm very pointed and methodical in what I'm asking, right? Things like for someone who had a twisted ankle injury. Someone who may not be familiar may not know to add that in, may think I'm looking specifically for something for someone who had an ankle injury, but may not think to type that in, right? There's that, and there's specific ways to ask it. For example, a lot of people say, give it a role, saying, role my personal assistant, right? Do research for me, right?
Oh, you give the AI this role.
Exactly. This is one way, which is prompting, and I'm not doing any of that. And the reason I'm not, and I want to explain that there are different models that behave differently based on input. For example, there's let me start a new thread.
لين أن علي
Select. So there's two different categories of models.
لين علي
You have your standard models, and then you have your reasoning models. This is where your O3, the one we looked at earlier, O4, Sonnet Thinking,
راجع
DeepSeek's R1, these are reasoning models. These reasoning models, you have to be less methodical about prompting because they'll reason and figure out the best prompt. So the less you add, it's essentially they've done research and shown reasoning models, the more you give it prompt and try to prompt engineer it, it's just adding noise and it's going to reduce the full accuracy of the model. Whereas standard models, they really do benefit from standardized approach. And of course, DeepSeek, everyone's aware of it, right? Caused a lot of great whirlwind. Good question. Go ahead, Moin. Yep. Is it related? Could I? Okay. All right. So the reason why DeepSeek caused a whirlwind, it was impacting entire stock market essentially. Impacted Nvidia, Meta, all the big players. Particularly because the claims that DeepSeek made was it was a Chinese firm that used leftover computers to build out a AI model for $5 million total, which sounds a lot, but in $5 million they were able to make an AI model that either performs just as good or outperforms models United States-based companies have invested 10, 20, 50 billion dollars in. Billions, right? Versus 5 million US dollars. That's why it was so disruptive, to where there's even an act now called No DeepSeek on Government Devices Act. There's an act called No DeepSeek on Government Devices. Because we do not want
Because it's China owned.
Because it is China owned. Now, people tend to get nervous about Chinese models, and I want to address this because if you use the ChatGPT, right, chatgpt.com, this platform, any data that you keep on your account, OpenAI, the parent company, owns that data. They own it. It's highlighted in their privacy policy. Exact same way if you use DeepSeek's chat.deepseek.com, any data you put in it, they own it, right? So essentially China owns it. But if you use things like Perplexity and use the reasoning model R1, you're not giving your data to China because Perplexity is hosted in US. All the DeepSeek model, it's running in US. It's not going to China. So,
فضول الفاميلي
go ahead, Mo.
So when it comes to like
مريم
all the
منى
stuff,
Mhm.
AI bots are really good at that. But when I'm trying to do like clinical trials or like let's say like mathematical computation,
Mhm.
then it becomes really hard without I need to ask it for a code.
Yes.
Do you know any tips and tricks for like any AI machines that do that?
Great question. There's let's see. Yeah, the question was, these AI models are great for text in, text out, graded language, but fall apart when you ask it a mathematical question, and fall apart for clinical trials without having to write code. And let me see if I can Google LLM math.
Like for example, like I'm trying to do like a trust analysis,
Mhm.
give it a diagram of like said truss or bridge, but then it still can't be able to link like said variables to like a physical, thing.
Yep. Yep. I wish I had my Meta laptop because there's there's a command. Anytime anyone asks that question, we just type in hashtag LLM math, and it responds with an image that shows why LLMs struggle with math. Remember, these models are highly efficient at predicting the next token, the next word. So when you give it questions like 2 plus 2, based on what it's seen in the past, it knows, okay, when it shows 2 plus 2, likely 4. But when you ask it something like numbers it may not have seen, it's going to predict the next word as a possibility and fail. A lot of times, essentially the only way to get around it is tool calling, where models like OpenAI, back here, where when it was reasoning through it, it was essentially writing Python code to do the analysis, right? For example, here's one earlier that I did for WonderWorks, and it thought for 2 minutes. First, I was like, okay, I see there's 6 columns. It highlighted. I was like, no, there's 4. Hang on. Sorry about that. So it wrote Python code
To correct itself.
Correct. So it wrote the Python code to check and validate, is this the right amount? Analyzed images aren't loading, but it essentially is writing code, and that's the only way to validate it is through tool calling or running code to get the mathematical answers. Okay, I'm going to jump to 2.5, and then we'll, how much time do we have left?
It's 3:21. I'd say maybe like
15? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I do want to get to the Muhsineen website. 5 more minutes, and then we'll switch gears to the Muhsineen website. All right. All right, sorry about that. Okay, there's 2 things I want to show. There's Bland AI. Highly recommend you guys check this out in your own time. Bland AI is essentially a realistic, ultra-realistic AI phone calls. You put in your phone number, and AI will call you, and you can ask it questions. And really, the use cases for this is like majority of the time when you're calling, is you're scheduling appointments, right? Like, hey, I want to get a haircut, or I want to do this. So, is Rami here with us? Does Rami need? Okay, someone could build an AI for Rami, right? Essentially, it greets the customer, right? Asks them, hey, what do you need help with? The customer says, hey, I want to book an appointment. And then it'll ask for their name, time, and then reference back to their calendar to see if there's any availability. If not, recommend a better availability. If everything works, great. Book it and say your goodbyes. And
Test this out right now.
go for it.
Let's use Romi's number and then have it as AI-generated message.
So here's the freaky part about it. This actually sounds ridiculously human. You would think a lot of times there's pauses, you can tell something's robotic, right? Give this a try. I've pasted the link in the chat. Put your phone number in and give it a try. It sounds ridiculously human.
What happens? Okay, I'll put my phone number in.
This is just a demo, right? Nothing's actually getting booked.
To hear what it sounds
Just to hear it, exactly. This is just a demo. If you want to build it, you talk to their sales and build something like this. Since we are on time crunch, I'm going to skip that and show you guys Manus AI. This is essentially where things just take a turn for the best. Like, for example, during Taraweeh, one of the Taraweeh prayer, I think this was a Khatam Quran, I recorded Taraweeh. So I said, all right, it was pretty long, right? It was about an hour long recording, 45-minute recording. As you know, there's pauses, Surah Fatiha. I'm like, I want to split that out, right? Trim that out. So that's what I did. I said, I've uploaded a Taraweeh prayer. Give it a description of what Taraweeh is. Here's the MP3 recording. Trim out Fatiha, other parts of prayer. Trim out silences, as well as anything, and only retain the Quranic recitation and dua at the end, right? Bonus points if you can identify the Quran surah and ayah. And I give it some guidance, right? If Surah Al-Mulk is recited, extract it into an MP3 file that says Al-Mulk fully. And then return the enhanced and labeled MP3 file. And here's what it does. Let me expand this. Okay, there we go. Let me zoom in a little so you guys can see it a little bit better. Dock that. Okay, cool. So here's what it did first. First it says, okay, I need to, first it starts setting an environment. It installs all the things it may need to do this analysis. And I've uploaded a file. It starts writing a Python code to do the analysis of the file. Runs FFmpeg, a very common audio video processing. And then this is what it essentially outputs first. It says energy level at each chunks. At time marker this, these are the energy levels. At this, it's this. Irrelevant to us, but it keeps analyzing, and then it breaks it down. It says, okay, these from this second to this second is silence. This second to this second is low energy segment, meaning potentially quiet prayer parts. Medium to high potential Quranic recitation or potential louder prayer parts. So now it knows, right? And then it starts trimming everything out that's silence, right? It's pieced it together and has it called Quran recitation enhanced. Now it's looking at the next task, which is identifying the surah. It's Googling, it comes up to Tartil. It can't figure that part out, so I say, okay, fine, just give me the final answer. And where are the files? So it splits it into different segment. Here's the quality report. Actually, I'll look at segment classification. Yeah, it says silence from this second to this second is silence, meaning we'll get rid of this. Low energy, we'll get rid of this. And then it gives me one final MP3 file, which is a full recitation with the silences trimmed out, all that done for me. And it took the model, let me see, how long did it take it? All I gave it was just that single prompt, and took about 13 minutes for it to do all of that, and there's code for it. So if I want to do this recursively, just upload all the files, if I have more, upload it, and it'll do the exact same thing for me over and over again. Manus AI is just insane.
If I can ask, like, for example, if Faisal was running or leading the Tarawih prayer, he wants to have a recording of reciting Baqarah in full, continuously, non-stop.
Mm-hmm. That's what this would do.
And so I'm doing Tarawih anyway, record the whole session, break it, or
that's what this will do.
Down, take the snippets together, put it one.
That's essentially the goal.
Wow.
That's what it did. That's what it did.
How long was the original file? Like the ending was like 11 minutes. How long was the first one?
No. It took 13 minutes for it to do the analysis. How long was the file?
Yeah,
So
you
like the
gave
original file. with all
42 minutes.
Wow.
And let's see, Quran recitation. 11 minutes was the full output.
Can you merge multiple files together as well?
You just upload all the files and tell it what you want. It is dangerous. It is dangerous. And this one is not cheap. This one's not cheap. If you start out free, you do get free credits, which is great, but it does burn through credits fast. But if you do want to upgrade, it is $40 a month, and you get specific credits. If you use it now, exactly. See, the amount of work it can do it's like hiring a junior developer. I mean, 40 a month, that's cheap labor. Even at $200 a month, I mean, the amount of work and the quality it's providing, it's recursively making sure, is the output correct? Is the output accurate? It beats having to hire a junior developer. One thing I've used it for, and 1 minute. All right. Yes, it is invite only for now. Okay, so here's another example. I said, hey, I'm looking for tickets from Kentucky to from Louisville to Multan. One of the amazing thing it does is it builds out a task list, right? And then it pretty much goes through, iterates over that task until it's complete. So it creates a directory structure, researches. Okay, Kentucky has these airports. Is there a shorter flight between any of these? Not just in duration, it looks at different things like compare flights options by duration, stops, and price. Research economy prices, premium economy, analyze infant travel policies, compile all of this recommendation. So this one, I let it run for quite a bit. This one ran for about 2 hours because this was when Manus first came out and there was a lot of load. It doesn't take that long anymore. But it essentially gave an output of how much, here's the flights, here's the airports, potential, prices. You can expect major airlines, different prices, different things. It essentially did the research for me and saved me a lot of time from having to do it myself.
ChatGPT doesn't do this, right?
No. The reason is it combines computer and other things with it. Actually, this is something one of my software engineer, I tasked him to build Manus internally, and this is the architecture that he shared with me. So this is a way to build Manus yourself if you want to. You don't want to pay $200 a month. Here's pretty much a a blueprint for building Manus yourself. It's pretty involved, but I mean, I vetted the architecture with a couple other engineers as well. But this is pretty much the architecture.
You can do that. You can recreate your own version of it.
Pretty much.
So does it just combine like other AI models?
Yeah, because it's what the beauty of it isn't the model itself, right? As models grow, yes, their intelligence gets better, but a lot of people are banking on the fact that as models grow and as time progresses, things get cheaper. So the intelligence, the cost to intelligence becomes more accessible. The beauty and the thing people are banking on is making these AI models accessible with tools like coding, right? So that way they can do mathematical checks, that way, and data, that way they're not hallucinating, they're not making stuff up, right? It's these tools that you're giving it, or in this case, a browser, for it to do Google searches and give you a good output. It's really just putting all that together. Those tools really do help enhance the full output to where the model itself doesn't really matter. You could drop in any model you want. It's just the quality of the output will remain the same because of the tools you've given it.
So can you use this to do things like you just showed us an example of you trying to like book a flight. Can you search for like the most affordable flights, cheapest ones, best possible?
Exact. All the above. All the above. Okay. I know it's 3:33. There's unfortunately we did not get to the actual port, which is the Muhsineen website. But all the pieces in the slide, the part 4. So let me answer this question: can AI replace professionals? No. Right. What you saw here. Yes, it makes things easier, barrier to entry easier, but it cannot replace professionals yet. Can AI be used for simple apps?
Yeah.
Maybe, perhaps,
Do you use it
mayhap.
for work? Just curious.
Yes. Huh?
Do you use it for work?
Oh yes, 100%. We have to. Actually, there's internal metrics. Not just our directors, but vice presidents and executives are reporting on how much AI we use. If a team is identified that's not using generative AI, like llama models, they're actually flagged and asked why.
Oh, so
It's enforced, not encouraged, enforced. Vibe coding, didn't get into this piece, but this is essentially where you're coding based on the vibes. The coding doesn't matter. The quality of the output doesn't matter. You're just going based off the vibe. Does this feel good? Yes. That's essentially what vibe coding is. These are a couple of these are all hyperlinks, but these are low code, no code softwares. Personally, I've used Lovable, V0. I didn't get to use Bolt, but Replit and Firebase are really good. But it's really, as you go to the right, you need to be more technical. Windsurf, Cursor, Copilot, these are IDEs, but the amount of control you'll have in IDEs is going to be a lot more than, for example, Lovable. Here's a really good breakdown. Lovable, as in if you have a business idea, you will just want to go straight from, your brain to actually start to prototype and build something out. Lovable. I think it costs like $15 a month, and you get to rapidly start to see something from your mind start to materialize in a short amount of time. And once it's materialized, then you want to build on top of it, start adding functionality. You want to, and that was the intent of this, is really use Lovable to build out a baseline, and then take it farther using, as complexity scales and grows, you'd use tools like Windsurf, Cursor to build on top of it. For example, in Lovable, let's say you have a website like Muhsineen website, right? Let's say we want to add Stripe payment processing for donation collection to streamline our, Sadaqah collection. Which, reminder, by the way, don't forget your Sadaqah this month. I know it's a reminder for me. But let's say we want to do Stripe payment processing. Lovable is going to struggle with it. As you start adding more features and more complexity, that's where tools like Cursor, Windsurf, these tools on the right are going to really shine. But for that baseline prototyping,
So
Lovable.
When it says like Cursor's full code, it will do the coding for you.
No, meaning you're doing code. You're writing straight code. You're not doing like
Lovable code like if you wanted to add that, it could.
Lovable.
Like I don't know how to code.
Exactly.
It would do it for me.
Lovable is perfect for vibe coding.
Okay. That's what you mean by vibe coding.
Vibe coding. You're not writing actual code. You're just going off the vibes.
Okay.
Like, oh, I don't like that button. That button looks whack. Exactly. Here's 12 rules. Start with vibe PMing. Keep your tech stack simple. Ask AI not to code, because that's the whole point. You want to plan first. Break tasks into small steps. Again, planning. Test ruthlessly. Don't hesitate to revert. Ask AI to explain the code. Additional tool sets, I talked a little bit about pretty much all of them. Gemini I didn't get to talk about. Phenomenal models. Idea was to get to the Muhsineen website, but a couple additional resources. Highly recommend this Microsoft GenAI for beginners and Hugging Face GenAI course. If you want to do prompt engineering, there's some Prompt 101. Prompts.chat provides a lot of curated prompts, so you don't have to start from scratch. Great website, a resource. There's an AI for that. And of course, if you want AI as an endpoint, Together AI, Fal AI, NVIDIA NIM, these are all really cheap infrastructure API pricing.
Can you please share the the slide presentation with us?
Yep, it's in the WhatsApp. It's in the WhatsApp.
Thank you.
That's pretty much it for now. I know we're at time, but any questions? More.
Talking about tool calling.
Hmm?
So like when you're using like multivariable like functions and stuff like that, let's say, okay, I do give it, like, reference this equation, and I'm giving it a set of variables.
Uh-huh.
Like, what exactly do I have to do for tool calling to make it basically come with better results, or give me, like, an interval of variables?
Yeah. Like any Python function, right? You pass in different variables, right? You can have wild KW args, right? So it's wild arguments. Essentially, you'd pass in wild arguments, so you can pass in indefinite variables, multivariate variables, and that function is now a tool call, a function call. Essentially, OpenAI supports function calls. So if you and there can be trigger words, right? Like let's say trigger word is derivative, right? Let's say if you're wanting something as a derivative of this, you can specify send anything that says derivative to this function call and get a response back, which would then run that Python function, which would do the derivative, using the math library and return the output, and then you're just essentially pre-printing that output. Any other?
Do me a favor, can you pull up the directory pages real quick?
Yes.
Obviously, we're running out of time, so you don't have to worry about doing it right now. But either using one of these AI tools, or if you feel creative, you can use Canva. We are wanting to put together these directory pages that people can find on the Muhsineen website. So for example, you might be looking for a job. You can list, for example, kind of professional background, educational background, kind of have a personal portion, and then whatever involvement you have in Muslim community. So once again, you can use one of these AI tools, or if you're feeling creative, Canva is a free kind of image editing software that's very easy to use. We are requesting that you put together some basic PNG file or JPEG file displaying personal, professional, and your involvement in the Muslim community. Would it be too much to ask to try to get that by next Sunday? Especially if you're using AI tools. Come on. Final week? Okay. Try to get it by next Sunday. Alright? That's my one ask.